Good morning again. I am so sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm sorry you had to wait so long while we were getting that all figured out, but we are back. I'm going to get started right away. I'm sorry, it looks like nobody's here right now, but Summer has her 12 days of summer coming up at 9, so I don't want to step on her schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm Chantelle Jordan. I'm reading from the scriptures version, and we're reading 1 Samuel 22 to 25 today. So thank you for being here. Let's get started. Make sure you click the like and subscribe button. Alrighty, let's get started. 1 Samuel 22. And David went from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam, and his brothers and all his father's house heard it and went down to him there. And everyone who was in distress, everyone who was in debt, and everyone bitter in being gathered to him. So he became head over them, and there were about 400 men with him. And David went from there to Mizpeh of Moab, and said to the sovereign of Moab, Please let my father and mother come here with you, till I know what Elohim does for me. And he left them with the sovereign of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. And the prophet Gad said to David, Do not remain in the stronghold. Leave and go to the land of Yehudah. So David left and went into the Hereth woods. And Saul heard that David and the men who were with him had been discovered, while Saul was in Gibeah, sitting under a tamarisk tree in Ramah, with his spear in his hand, and all his servants standing about him. And Saul said to his servants who were standing around him, Hear now, you Benjamites, does the son of Yishai give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? For all of you have conspired against me, and there is no one who reveals to me that my son has made a covenant with the son of Yishai. And there is not one of you who is grieved for me, or reveals to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me, to lie in wait, as it is this day. And Doeg the Edomite, who was set over the servants of Saul, answered and said, I saw the son of Yishai going to Nob, to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. And he inquired of Yahweh for him, gave him food, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. And the sovereign sent someone to call Ahimelech the priest, son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, the priests who were in Nob, and they all came to the sovereign. And Saul said, Hear now, son of Ahitub. And he answered, Here I am, my master. And Saul said to him, Why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Yishai, by giving him bread and a sword, and have inquired of Elohim for him, to rise against me, to lie in wait, as it is this day? And Ahimelech answered the sovereign and said, And who among all your servants is so trustworthy as David? Who is the sovereign's son-in-law, and has turned aside to your counsel, and is esteemed in your house? Have I today begun to inquire of Elohim for him? Far be it from me. Let not the sovereign lay a case against his servant, or against any in the house of my father, for your servant knew not of all this, little or much. And the sovereign said, You shall certainly die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. The sovereign then said to the guards who stood about him, Turn and put the priest of Yahweh to death, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not reveal it to me. But the servants of the sovereign would not lift their hands to come against the priest of Yahweh. And the sovereign said to Doeg, You turn and come against the priests. So Doeg the Edomite turned and came against the priests, and put to death on that day 85 men who wore a linen shoulder garment. And he struck Nob, the city of the priests, with the edge of the sword, from men even to women, from children even to nursing infants, and oxen and donkeys and sheep with the edge of the sword. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar reported to David that Saul had killed the priests of Yahweh. And David said to Abiathar, I knew that day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would certainly inform Saul. I am accountable for all the lives of your father's house. Remain with me, do not fear, for he who seeks my life seeks your life, but with me you are safe. All right, chapter 23. And they informed David, saying, See, the Philistines are fighting against Keilah, and they are plundering the threshing floors. So David inquired of Yahweh, saying, Shall I go and strike these Philistines? And Yahweh said to David, Go and smite the Philistines and save Keilah. And David's men said to him, See, we here in Yehudah are afraid. How much more then if we go to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? And David inquired of the Lord of Yahweh once again. And Yahweh said to him, Arise and go down to Keilah, for I am giving the Philistines into your hand. So David and his men went to Keilah and fought with the Philistines, and he led away their livestock and struck them, a great smiting. Thus David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. And it came to be when Abiathar, son of Ahimelech, fled to David at Keilah, that he went down with a shoulder garment in his hand. And Saul was informed that David had gone to Keilah. Thus Saul said, Elohim has estranged him into my hand, for he has shut himself in by entering a town that has gates and bars. And Saul summoned all the people to battle to go down to Keilah to besiege David and his men. And David knew that Saul was plotting evil against him, and said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the shoulder garment here. And David said, O Elohim, O Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, your servant has heard for certain that Saul seeks to come to Keilah to destroy the city for my sake. Are the landowners of Keilah going to surrender me into his hand? Is Saul coming down as your servant has heard? O Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, I pray, let your servant know. And Yahweh said, He is coming down. And David said, Are the landowners of Keilah going to surrender me and my men into the hand of Saul? And Yahweh said, They are going to surrender you. Then David and his men, about 600, arose and left Keilah and went wherever they could go. And Saul was informed that David had escaped through Keilah, and he ceased to go out. And David remained in the wilderness in strongholds, and remained in the hill country in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul sought him every day, but Elohim did not give him into his hand. And David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life, while David was in the wilderness of Ziph at Horesh. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose and went to David at Horesh, and strengthened his hand in Elohim, and said to him, Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father is not going to find you, and you are to reign over Israel, and I am to be next to you. Even my father Saul knows that. And they made a covenant before Yahweh, and David remained at Horesh while Jonathan went to his own house. And the Ziphites came up to Saul at Gibeah, saying, Is David not hiding with us in stronghold Horesh, in the hill of Hakilah, which is on the south of the wasteland? And now, O sovereign, by all the desire of your being, come down, and our part is to surrender him into the sovereign's hand. And Saul said, Blessed are you of Yahweh, for you have sympathy with me. Please go, prepare yet further, and find out and see the place where his hideout is, who has seen him there. For I am told that he is very cunning. So look and learn all about the hiding places where he hides, and you shall come back to me with certainty. Then I shall go with you. And it shall be, if he is in the land, that I shall search for him throughout all the clans of Yehudah. And they rose up and went to Ziph before Saul, while David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the desert plain on the south of the wasteland. And Saul and his men went to seek him, and they informed David. So they went down to the rock and remained in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard this, he pursued David in the wilderness of Maon. And Saul went on one side of the mountain, and David and his men on the other side of the mountain. And David was hurrying to get away from Saul, for Saul and his men were surrounding David and his men to take them. Then a messenger came to Saul, saying, Hurry and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. So Saul turned back from pursuing David and went against the Philistines. Therefore, they call that place Selah Hamalekoth. And David went up from there and remained in the strongholds at En-Gedi. 1 Samuel 24. And it came to be, when Saul had returned from pursuing the Philistines, that it was reported to him, saying, See, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 chosen men from all Israel, and went to seek David and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. And he came to the sheepfolds on the way, and there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the sides of the cave. And the men of David said to him, See, the day of which Yahweh has said to you, See, I am giving your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it seems good to you. And David arose and gently cut off a corner of Saul's robe. And it came to be afterward that the heart of David struck him, because he had cut the corner of Saul's robe. So he said to his men, Far be it from me, by Yahweh, that I should do this matter to my master, anointed of Yahweh, to stretch out my hand against him, for he is the anointed of Yahweh. And David dispersed his servants with words, and did not allow them to rise against Saul. And Saul rose up from the cave and went on his way. And afterward David arose and went out of the cave, and called out to Saul, saying, My master, the sovereign. And when Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the earth and did obeisance. And David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of men who say, See, David seeks to do you evil? See, this day your eyes have seen that Yahweh gave you today into my hand in the cave, and one said to kill you. But my eye pardoned you, and I said, I do not stretch out my hand against my master, for he is the anointed of Yahweh. And my father, see, yes, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For in that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you. Know and see that there is neither evil nor rebellion in my hand. And I have not sinned against you while you were hunting my life to take it. Let Yahweh judge between you and me, and let Yahweh avenge me on you. But my hand is not against you. As the proverb of the ancient says, Wrong comes from the wrongdoer, but my hand is not against you. After whom has the sovereign of Israel come out? And whom do you pursue? A dead dog, a flea? And Yahweh shall be judge, and rightly rule between you and me, and see and plead my case, and rightly rule me out of your hand. And it came to be, when David had ended speaking these words to Saul, that Saul says, Is this your voice, my son David? So Saul lifted up his voice and wept. And he said to David, You are more righteous than I, for you have rewarded me with good, where I have rewarded you with evil. And you have shown today how you have done good to me, for when Yahweh surrendered me into your hand, you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, shall he let him get away safely? And let Yahweh reward you with good for what you have done to me today. And now look, I know that you shall certainly reign, and that the reign of Israel shall be established in your hand. And now swear to me by Yahweh that you do not cut off my seed after me, nor destroy my name from my father's house. And David swore to Saul. Then Saul went home, and David and his men went up to the stronghold. Chapter 25. And Samuel died, and all Israel gathered and mourned for him, and buried him in his home at Ramah. And David arose and went down to the wilderness of Paran. Now there was a man in Maon, and his work was in Carmel, and the man was very great. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he came to be shearing his sheep in Carmel. And the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of good understanding and beautiful. But the man was hard and evil in his doings, and he was of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep. And David sent 10 young men, and David said to the young men, Go up to Carmel, and you shall come to Nabal and greet him in my name, and say this, Long life and peace to you, and peace to your house, and peace to all that you have. And now I have heard that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us. We did not put them to shame, and not a speck of theirs was missing all the days they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and let them inform you. So let my young men find favor in your eyes, for we come on a good day. Please give whatever comes to your hand to your servants and to your son David. And the young men of David came and spoke to Nabal according to all these words in the name of David, and waited. But Nabal answered the servants of David and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Yishai? The servants who are running away from their masters have become many nowadays. And shall I take my bread and my water and my meat that I have slaughtered for my shearers, and give it to men coming from who knows where? And the young men of David turned back on their way and went back and came and reported to him all these words. And David said to his men, each one gird on his sword. So they each girded on his sword, and David also girded on his sword. And about 400 men went with David, and 200 remained with the baggage. And one of the young men informed Abigail, the wife of Nabal, saying, see, David has sent messengers from the wilderness to greet our master, but he scoffed at them. But the men were very good to us, and they did not put us to shame, nor did we miss any item all the days we accompanied them when we were in the fields. They were a wall to us by night and day, all the days we were with them, tending the sheep. And now know and see that what you should do, for evil has been resolved against our master, and against all his household, and he is too much of a son of Belial to speak to. Then Abigail made haste and took 200 loaves and 2 skins of wine and 5 sheep made ready, 5 measures of roasted grain and 100 clusters of raisins and 200 cakes of figs, and loaded them on donkeys. And she said to her servants, pass over before me, see, I am coming after you. But she did not inform her husband, Nabal. And it came to be, as she rode on the donkey, that she went down under cover of the hill, and there were David and his men coming down toward her, and she met them. And David had said, only in vain have I protected all that this one has in the wilderness, so that not a speck was missing from all that belongs to him, and he has repaid me evil for good. Let Elohim do so, and more so also to the enemies of David, if I leave one male of all who belong to him by morning light. And Abigail saw David, and she hastened to come down from the donkey, and fell on her face before David, and bowed down to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, on me, my master, let this crookedness be on me. And please let your female servant speak in your ears, and hear the words of your female servant. Please let not my master regard this man of Belial, Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your female servant, did not see the young men of my master whom you sent. And now, my master, as Yahweh lives, and as your being lives, since Yahweh has withheld you from coming to bloodshed, and from avenging yourself with your own hand, now then, let your enemies be as Nabal, even those seeking evil against my master. And now this present which your female servant has brought to my master, let it be given to the young men who follow my master. Please forgive the transgression of your female servant, for Yahweh is certainly making a steadfast house for my master, because my master fights the battles of Yahweh, and evil is not found in you all your days. And if a man rises to pursue you and seek your life, and the life of my master has been found in the bundle of the living with Yahweh, your Elohim, then the lives of your enemies he shall sling out, as from the pocket of a sling. And it shall be, when Yahweh has done for my master according to all the good he has spoken concerning you, and has commanded you to be ruler over Israel, do not let this be a staggering and a stumbling of heart to my master, that you have shed blood without cause, or that my master has saved himself. And when Yahweh has done good to my master, then remember your female servant. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be Yahweh Elohim of Israel, who sent you to meet me today. And blessed is your good taste, and blessed are you, because you have kept me this day from coming to bloodshed, and from avenging myself with my own hand. Nevertheless, as Yahweh Elohim of Israel lives, who has kept me back from doing evil to you, if you had not hurried and come to meet me, not a male would have been left to Nabal by break of day, for certain. And David received from her hand what she had brought him, and said to her, Go up in peace to your house. See, I have listened to your voice, and have accepted your face. And Abigail went to Nabal, and see, he was at a feast in his house, like the feast of a sovereign. And Nabal's heart was glad within him, and he was exceedingly drunk. So she told him not a word, little or much, until morning light. And it came to be in the morning, when the wine had gone from Nabal, and his wife had told him these matters, that his heart died with him in him, and he became like stone. And it came to be in about 10 days that Yahweh smote Nabal, and he died. And David heard that Nabal was dead, and he said, Blessed be Yahweh, who has pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and has kept his servant from evil. For Yahweh has returned the evil of Nabal on his own head. And David sent and spoke to Abigail to take her as his wife. And when the servants of David had come to Abigail at Carmel, they spoke to her, saying, David sent us to you to ask you to become his wife. And she arose, bowed her face to the earth, and said, Here is your female servant, a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my master. And Abigail hurried and rose, and rode on a donkey with 5 of her female attendants. And she followed the messengers of David and became his wife. David had also taken Ahinoam of his Israel, and so both of them were his wives. But Saul had given Michal, his daughter, David's wife, to Palti, son of Laish, who was from Galium. All right, that is the end of our reading for today. Looks like we did it on time for summer's 12 days of summer. So if you're still around, please go check that out. That'll be going live in about 9 minutes. Thank you so much for being here with us today and for being gracious with our technical issues. Please click the like and subscribe button so you never miss a reading. And we will see you on Monday. I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Oh, thank you, Lori. I'm glad I made it back on too. Hello again, everyone. Thanks for sticking around and being so patient. I really appreciate you all. So, quick prayer. Father God, thank you for this morning and for helping us to push through the difficulty and be able to read live today. I just pray that you would bless each and every reader today and have a restful and blessed weekend, and that you would just be, as we draw near to you, Lord, that you promise in your word that you will draw near to us. So we look forward to your promise of getting to know you better as we pursue you. And we just thank you for all your provision and faithfulness, Lord, and your love, and sending a Savior to die for us and to redeem us, Lord. So we thank you and we praise you for all these things in the name of your Son, Yeshua. Amen. Alrighty, everyone. Have an amazing weekend. Thank you for being here with us, and enjoy yourselves. Make sure you rest up, okay? And catch 12 Days of Summer coming up in about 9 minutes, all right?